gentlemen, especially the young people and students, welcome to the Experience Japan exhibition. First of all, I would like to thank all of you to be here on the first seminar of this event on studying Japan. I'm the MC for the seminar. My name is Hideko, and from Keio University in Tokyo, the chief organizer of this event together with the British Council. At this session, I'm just MC and facilitator, so I would like to have 3 guest speakers who will be talking about the experiences and observations on what makes Japanese universities unique, how do they differ from UK universities, what it's like to be a student in Japan, as I can see many young people here. First, I will be inviting 2 speakers who are former British students who did study abroad in Japan, sitting on the right side of this room. I shall first ask them to introduce themselves, such as who they are, what they do now, and if relevant, how their experiences in Japan have made impact on their current professional and personal life. After these 2 British speakers, I will be inviting a current Japanese exchange student in UK, sitting far left from your side, who I'm sure has counter impressions and comments on the differences of British and Japanese universities on study and student life after spending a couple of months here in the UK at a British university. I would like to make this session very interactive so that people can ask questions. After individual speaker makes speeches, I make the floor open so that you guys can all ask questions. Okay? So now I can first ask Tom to start. Tom, please.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name's Tom Mays, and I work for the British Council over in Japan at the Tokyo office there. First of all, wow, it's fantastic to see so many people here. It's really exceeded our expectations. I never realised there were so many people in the UK interested in Japan, but it's fantastic to see. I'm currently working over in Japan, but my interest in the country started from my studying a Japanese course back at Sixth Form College. So I studied at a college on the outskirts of Manchester, and they had a sort of short-term Japanese language course, which wasn't particularly popular. I was the only student who volunteered to take the course. So it was basically me and the teacher from Japan once a week in the classroom for around 2 hours, which was fantastic for me because I got to interact directly with the teacher. And she taught me lots about not only Japanese language, but about Japanese culture, society, history. And she really sparked an interest in the country for me. So after taking that course, I was weighing up what to do at university. I originally intended to take German, but thanks to the course I took at college, I decided rather last minute to study Japanese studies at university. One of the key factors in my choosing Japanese studies was perhaps because the World Cup, the Football World Cup, was about to be staged in Japan in 2002. And I figured if I studied Japanese at university, my dad would be willing to pay for a return flight to Japan to watch the football, saying that I would be studying the language over there. So I took Japanese at university in Cambridge. I studied there from 2001 to 2005. The first time I went out there was for the World Cup. I had a couple of weeks out there. But in terms of studying over there, that was in 2003. As part of my Japanese course at university, we were able to go out to Japan for half a year and study at a university there. My professor at university, he had ties with a professor at Hokkaido University. So I'm not too sure if you know where Hokkaido is. It's the island right to the north of the country. For British people, it's probably got the most similar climate to the one you're used to at home, i.e. in summer it doesn't get to 100% humidity and it's not 38 degrees all the time. So yeah, in the summer it's very fresh, it's similar to the UK. In the winter it's very cold, there's lots of snow, and it's a very popular skiing destination. But Hokkaido as a whole you've got Sapporo, which is the main city, then aside from that it's mainly spectacular countryside, mountain scenery, and there's quite a few ties with Russia over there, interestingly enough. There's a ferry service over to Vladivostok from a town called Otaru in the north of the country, so there's quite a bit of Russian influence there as well, which is really interesting. Fortunately, I was over in Hokkaido between March and August, which meant I missed out on all the freezing temperatures and snow. So I was there for probably the best season. So for 6 or 5 months from March onwards, I entered Hokkaido University, and I was studying at their Study Abroad Centre. So Hokkaido University, they have a big campus in the middle of the city. I think it's quite famous out of all the universities in Japan for having a really beautiful campus with lots of trees and greenery, and it's smack bang in the centre of the city, so it's really convenient. So I was based at the Study Abroad Centre, and I took a course on Japanese culture, society and history. I was taught by a mixture of teachers, some of them Japanese. I had one from Australia, one from America. So it was a really varied programme. In my classes, it was mainly students from other countries. There were quite a few from America, Canada, Korea, China, Australia. So it was a real sort of international atmosphere. I think one thing I think's perhaps fair to say about people who go and study in Japan is maybe they're slightly odd. Something unique about them. So, yeah, I myself am probably slightly weird, I think. I've got sort of mild obsession with J-League football, which I don't think many British people have. A lot of the people on my course as well all had very interesting hobbies and reasons for being in Japan. So we had one bloke who was very interested in cosplay, which is short for costume play. I don't know if you're aware. I believe it's sort of taking off in Britain at the moment. So you get people sort of dressing up as manga characters and anime characters and sort of staging various gatherings. So yeah, there was one person interested in cosplay. There was somebody writing a thesis on something called Genghis Khan, or Genghis Khan, which is the Hokkaido speciality. It's a kind of cooked lamb dish. And lamb isn't traditionally eaten in Hokkaido. So he was studying the history of why Genghis Khan was a popular dish in Hokkaido and its roots coming over from Russia. Yeah, so it was an interesting bunch of people, to say the least. With the people on my course mainly being international students and not Japanese students, in order so that I could interact with the Japanese students on the campus, I made an effort to take part in various sort of societies and clubs. And that's something I recommend you do if you're entering a sort of summer program with other international students. So, for example, I entered the football club, predictably enough, and also the taiko society, taiko is sort of traditional Japanese drums. And they sort of feature predominantly in Japanese festivals. So through taking part in those clubs and societies, I was able to make friends with a lot of Japanese students as well. In terms of accommodation, I was staying with a host family for the time I was in Hokkaido. I really recommend staying with a host family if that option's available. It's a great way of improving your Japanese because obviously you engage with them over breakfast and in the evening time. And I think it's probably fair to say of most host families in Japan, they're all ridiculously kind and generous. For example, the grandpa, he had a season ticket for the local baseball team, the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. And he would take me to the baseball at least twice a week. They'd arrange for trips to various places in Hokkaido over the weekend. Yeah, they were fantastic, and I think the majority of homestays in Japan are the same. In terms of the university and what made it unique, I guess the care and attention that the members of staff there paid to you. So, for example, when I arrived, I needed to open a bank account in Japan. They literally took me by the hand to the bank. They explained all the forms, all the sheets, took me through everything. Whenever you have a problem, you can just go to the international centre, and yeah, they will give you all the advice you need. So yeah, it's really sort of the personal care that you get at Japanese universities, I think, is unique. So yeah, just to summarise, I think I've had my 8 minutes or 9 minutes or so. I guess you can tell that I enjoyed my experience over there so much because I'm still there. I graduated from university and went back there straight away on the JET programme and have stayed there since. It's a fantastic country to live in. Everything's efficient, everything runs on time. That's not having a dig at the UK, by the way. And people are polite. I can't speak highly enough of it. So if you get the chance to go, I really recommend it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Can I now ask Nora to speak?
Yes,
please.
I've got a bit of laryngitis today, so obviously with the mic you can hear me. Well, why did I go to Japan? It's a bit of a long story, but I suppose I was born in Australia and my parents are Irish. I was brought up in the UK. So as a teenager, I was very interested in culture and what makes people tick in a different way. And if you are interested in culture, if you're interested in any aspect of culture, fashion, art, music, film, design, Tokyo is just someplace that you cannot afford to miss because it is such a unique culture. And because of Japan's history and the way that it was isolated from the world for 200 years during the Edo period, Japan has evolved a really, I think, fascinatingly pure and unique and, yes, idiosyncratic, but that's why we love it. And I think what Tom said was absolutely right. Let's face it, everybody in this room, if you're even thinking of going to Japan, you're a little bit left field. There's something about you that's a little bit different. You're a little bit more up for a challenge. You're a little bit more interested in things that aren't exactly mainstream. You don't want to leave university, buy a house, get a job, have 2.1 children, live in, you're a little bit different. And for me, that was the thing that made me want to go to Japan. I mean, I could have gone to lots of other countries. I ended up doing a master's degree in Japanese literature, which obviously is a little bit different anyway, at SOAS in London. And then I was given the opportunity to go to Japan. And for me, even more wonderfully, I was given the opportunity to go to Tokyo. And on top of that, I was at Keio University, which is obviously one of the host institutions organising today. And it was just 3 amazing opportunities rolled into one. I think Tom had a fantastic experience in Hokkaido. And, again, that's something so unique. But Tokyo is Tokyo, the preeminent city in Asia still, really, I think. So I was really interested in literature, obviously, and I went to Japan to learn a little bit more about Japanese literature. But Tokyo being such an amazing city, I was able to meet, within my 12 months in Japan at Keio, I met Seamus Heaney twice, which, as an Irish person who's really interested in literature, I don't know if you're interested in poetry, but that was amazing. People like Jack Straw came to talk at Keio, and I heard him speak. Carlos Ghosn, the management guru who turned Nissan around, was speaking after lectures one day. I had this amazingly rich diet of internationally outstanding speakers. So that was amazing. While I was in Tokyo, I saw Hamlet, Othello, King Lear at the Shakespeare Globe in Tokyo. I was able to join various different poetry, literature, Irish literature networks. There's so much going on in terms of design, fashion. The art scene in Tokyo is like nothing you've ever seen in your life. It's amazing. There's pop-up studios everywhere. there's just so much going on that you could fill 48 hours every day if you had that time. So I think Tokyo is an incredible opportunity. If you're really somebody who's buzzing and active and likes to get involved with things, whatever you're interested in, you will find it in Tokyo, and you will find Japanese people and people from all over the world who are interested in that as well. So it's just a really intense, rich opportunity in terms of Tokyo. In Keio, on top of that, obviously it's a preeminent university in Asia and the world, so the level of tuition that you get in a university like Tokyo a university like Keio is really second to none. I mean, our tutors, for example, I've come from a British university background, so I've come from the traditional route where, you study one subject and you genuinely stick with that subject for 3 years and then you graduate. But when I was at Keio, even though I was there to sort of do a master's, a sort of a literature path, and obviously a language path, I was able to take courses in Japanese art, international relations, and because of what Keio is, for example, the Hungarian ambassador was sitting next to me in my international relations course at Keio. So it's a big fish. It's a big fish institution. You get big fish professors and, all kinds of interesting people popping in. So it was fantastic to be at Keio. I would echo what Tom said in that, I suppose it's an aspect of the sort of Confucian tradition of education within Japan, but your teacher is somebody who takes a much greater interest in you than you would expect in a British institution, although British education obviously is fantastic. But for example, one of my Japanese teachers used to invite us around to her house, and she would insist on cooking us really healthy food because she thought, being exchange students, we were probably going out and possibly drinking too much, perish the thought, and going out to restaurants all the time. So she'd invite us regularly to her house and make us eat steamed vegetables and rice, which of course was very good for us. But I just think, she cared so much about us that she wanted to make sure that we were eating healthy food. Local shops, I mean, being a foreigner in Tokyo is a little bit different to being a foreigner in someone like Hokkaido. And so, you're not so unusual, but still, people are so kind, people will help you in every way. You feel very supported by the community. Even in the big lights of Tokyo, it's fantastic to, just live in a culture where it's still considered, you're not unusual if you help somebody. If somebody asks directions, it's a cliche, but you will get taken to the place you want to go. You're really looked after, and it's a very, very safe environment to be as a student, and especially as a female student. You don't have to worry about getting home after going out with friends or whatever. It's quite safe to walk anywhere at any time of the day or night, and you'll probably be helped by random strangers. So obviously also, getting back to the point about people who are interested in Tokyo, people who are interested in Japan, at my stay in Keio for a year, I met amazing people with whom I'm still in touch, from the Sorbonne, from Canada, from America, from Germany, people who were studying at incredible universities all around the world. So it was a brilliant opportunity to mix with other really interesting young people, as well as, of course, the Japanese people who were on my course as well. So from a social point of view, cultural point of view, academic point of view, I really don't think there's anywhere better that you could go. Finally, I'm now a teacher in London, and I'm in charge of the Gifted and Talented program in the school in which I teach. And as you guys will know, bright young people from the UK are almost invariably interested in Japan. It's a weird thing. So in my job now, I do half-term courses and summer holiday courses in Japanese. My husband's a chef. He's Japanese. So I drag him in to do, he's not a chef, he's not a Japanese chef, he actually cooks Italian food, but that's another story. But he comes in and he does, sushi workshops for 15-year-olds, and it's very interesting. When I first got back from Japan, I was actually working for Gordon Ramsay for a while because he was opening a restaurant in Tokyo at the time. They needed someone who could speak Japanese. If you can speak Japanese and you know a little bit about Japan, doors open. And I think it's true to say that, okay, the economic growth of China is amazing, and it's certainly outstripped the sort of growth of other countries around the world, established economies like the UK and America and Japan. But the growth in Japan, the growth in China is nothing but good for people who can speak Japanese, because of course Japan is one of China's big growth partners. So I just think, I never thought I'd find myself working for Gordon Ramsay, but going to Japan, learning about Japan, learning a bit of Japanese will open doors for you, full stop. So if you get the chance, do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Okay, so can I ask Mari, the real student from Japan, to talk about something different perspective?
Konnichiwa, my name is Mari. I'm from Japan, Tokyo. Actually, I'm from Keio University, which is best university in Japan. And I'm studying Sheffield right now, University of Sheffield. What I study in Japan is politics. Especially I focus on Chinese politics because Keio University is one of the best universities which has high quality of East Asian studies. So students who want to study about Asian culture, Asian politics, Asian relationship, it's better go to Japan and study those subjects. And yeah, I'm here for exchange program, and most of Japanese universities have a lot program for exchange. So I got chance to come UK. And the reason why I chose England to study is I spent 2 months in Cambridge University, and it was one of the program in Keio University. So I really like it. I really like to study abroad because in Japan, it's really difficult to see foreigners or feel different culture in Japan. So I really wanted to live outside of Japan, outside of Asia, and look what people think about Japan, what people think about Tokyo. Well, I will say Tokyo is totally different. As Nora said, Tokyo is not Japan, Tokyo is Tokyo. Like everyone say like London is London, right? Tokyo is Tokyo. Tokyo is amazing place. Okay, I want to tell about what I feel differences between Japanese education and British education. First, I felt the size of class is really different. Actually, in Japan, most of class is bigger than British size. It's like more than 200 students together and one professor, and 90 minutes lecture. And we have lecture, I think we have more than you do, like British student do. And UK, it's more smaller. So you have one class and one seminar each. But in Japan, we have one seminar. So you belong to only one seminar and you spend whole time with that seminar and stuck with them. And I really like it because my professor, he's awesome. He's head of law department of Keio University. He's super busy, but every week he spends dinner and drinking with students, and he asks about students' boyfriend or girlfriend as well, and also he talk about our career or future. And I think I didn't have any opportunity to have like drink with British professor in here, so it was really nice, and he gave me a lot chance. I went to G8 summit in France this year as delegate of Japan, and he chose me to go France because he knew that I want to experience more in foreign countries and I want to study more about politics. So Japanese professor focus on your personality and what you want to do, and they will give a lot chance. And also in Japanese university, I'm sorry, to be honest, Japanese students don't study much. Yeah, I think British students study harder because professor check attendance all the time, and you have to be there to get good mark. But Japanese students don't go class, or yes, they go class, but sit there and Facebook, or some people eat lunch in the lecture room. I'm sorry, I'm too honest, but not all students. Some of them focus on their class, and some of them don't. So depends on you. Depends on people. Like the student who want to study hard, they can. They can study as much as they want, and they can choose whatever they want to study. A lot subject, and different departments. And students who want to focus on other things, like society, circle, Japanese students love it. We have, I think it's nearly 200 tennis circle in Keio University. Can you believe that? Only tennis society, more than 200 in one university. And they have different atmosphere, different colors, and you choose. And that's how Japanese students get know people and socialize. And one more differences between England and Japan university, Japanese university is, how do you say, a relationship between the older student and younger student. Actually, in Japan, older students take care of younger students a lot, even they graduated. For example, I'm 4th year right now, and I need job. I'm doing job hunting. So I call my older student, we call senpai, and they help me a lot. They won't give me job, but they help how to write CV or talk or introduce people, and that's pretty nice. So in Japan, maybe this is, especially in Keio University, they really care about community. They really care about connections. And, well, but I really love to study in England. I really like it, and my life in England is awesome. So, well, I love both. Yes?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. After having three of you guys speaking about what the kind of experience you had, would you like to make comments to each other, the comments, or any particular points you coming up in your mind after hearing others speak? Or
yeah, I'll just
Yeah,
make
Tom,
one comment, if I may. You may have detected a bit of Tokyo or Keio University bias here. So I thought I'd just speak up for the rest of Japan as well.
Please.
I used to be based down in Kansai, which is another very urbanized area of Japan. So you've got Osaka, Kyoto, Kobe, other major cities all located down there. So I think, I just wanted to say that, I don't know, for example, in the case of Seoul, I think the majority of the population is I think 80% of the population lives in Seoul in Korea, and then elsewhere you don't really have any major cities. But in Japan, there's a good balance, I'd say. So in the far north, you've got Sapporo, then you've got Sendai, then you've got the Tokyo area, then you've got the Kansai area, Fukuoka down south. So it's not just Tokyo. There's a good balance of really major cities. Just to show you say for example, the size of other cities. For example, Osaka, I believe its GDP is higher than the GDP for Vietnam. So the city of Osaka alone has a GDP higher than another Asian country. So that just shows you the scale of some of the other cities in Japan. And each of them have their own dialect. Osaka in particular is...
Food?
Lots of food, I guess Osaka is the Japanese Scouse. Which made it quite enjoyable to try and learn Japanese there. It was an interesting experience. But just to say that Japan's got a lot of variety in terms of, where you can study.
Any other comments, Nora or Mari?
No, I don't think
Yeah.
so.
I think since there are so many people here, I think I would like to make the floor open for questions because I think what they said, I think that their impression, and I think you guys have your own expectations, or you might have some Japanese friend or have seen manga and you would like to clarify some of the things being said in UK. So if you have any questions, please go ahead. Okay.
Is it usual in Japanese universities to have this sort of broader-based curriculum, or is it that Japanese universities focus on one particular?
No, that's a really good question. It's more like, I mean, actually, Hideko will know more about this than me, but in my experience, I was really surprised from a British perspective to see that, you know, you can take all kinds of courses. So it's more like an American system, or indeed a European system, where you're general first, and then you major in your second or third year. Is that correct, Hideko?
Yeah. In Japan, up to secondary education is very general. So you enter university around 90, and you major, you choose to do, well, like a medical school, I think it's very different, but you major something, but you are not just focusing on that subject. So you have to take varieties, of course, literature, philosophy, or even physical education, or swimming, or whatever, and then you move on. And as Mari mentioned, in the usually third year or fourth year, you will choose professor to be a seminar professor, and then you have a lot of intimacy. You will meet, I think, twice or once a week, and maybe 2 consecutive class hours, and it's usually set towards the end of the day, right? And then after having real studies, you will go out with professor and have meal or drinking and that kind of things. So people tend to think Japanese education is very stoic and only lectures. And that's really one side, as Mari said, 200 students packed in the lecture room, and sometimes people don't come. But if you choose right supervisor to guide you through not only academic studies, maybe career, you have a lot of things to get from professors as well. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, you're saying that there's a great focus on art and fashion across Tokyo. I've been interested in possibly studying something like that, but there don't seem to be many courses open for English language students. So would that require perhaps going over to study Japanese course first and then having to move on to something?
Yeah, I mean,
Could you repeat the question, please? Because I need to get on to take.
the young lady was just asking about whether she was interested in the idea that there was a lot going on in terms of art and fashion and design, but she hadn't seen many English language courses available, and she was wondering whether you needed to just go and study Japanese and then get involved from there. Yeah, I think that the university experience in Japan is almost 50-50 about what you do inside the classroom and what you do outside the classroom. So there would certainly be, whatever university you went to, there would certainly be fashion, design, art. They're called circles instead of clubs. There's like the tennis circle or the flying or hockey or rowing circle. So I think, I mean, there's so much going on outside the classroom that I think it would be, I mean, Japanese universities are still quite traditional in the sense that the curriculum tends to be, you know, history, French, law, but you would very soon, especially if you were in a larger city university, you'd very soon find your niche, and you know, you'd be able to get involved in design, maybe not in terms of a formal qualification, but in terms of, you know, enriching your portfolio, seeing amazing exhibitions, getting some contacts. That would be very easy to do.
Are you interested in a degree level program based on art and design in English?
Something like that would still be great.
Yeah.
Just any way to get involved in the sort of the fashion and art scene.
Yeah, I'm just speculating, but I know a lot of the universities participating today have recently introduced quite a few English language degree programs, both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. And I dare say that some of those are on art or design.
Media design, for example,
yeah.
not necessarily fashion, but some kind of design. There are some courses delivered in English, but we don't have many fashion courses at undergraduate program in general. Fashion design, we have something called Seminar1, which is not university, but vocational training course that you can opt when you graduate. And those are the ones which are very famous, like famous Kenzo graduated from those kind of schools. So, but probably if you go to that school, you may need to have some kind of Japanese first, I think. But there are plenty of those kind of senmongakko in areas like Tokyo. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
From your own personal experience, do you have any advice about applying for scholarships to study in Japan?
I'm kind of out of date because I'm a while back. I mean, Monbusha doesn't even exist anymore. Hideko, does it? It's changed now.
Mixed.
Mixed.
Yeah, they still have a fairly extensive scholarship program though. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the organisations that provide scholarships are represented at today's event, so it may be worth popping to their stands afterwards. But yeah, there's the MEXT scholarship. MEXT is their Ministry of Education and lots of other things. It's got a very sort of complex title. But I think they offer scholarships at both undergraduate and postgraduate level. And then you've got other sort of foundations, such as the Daiwa Anglo-Japanese Foundation, JSPS, which both of those are here today. So there is quite a wealth of scholarship programs. In terms of the actual application process, it's probably worth speaking with them directly. And of course, each university has their own scholarship program as well, which maybe Sumita-san can talk about.
Many of the universities who are represented here have newly created programs taught in English. So they are giving extra governmental attention. They have more capacity of openings for mixed character scholarships. And also some universities, I think, created as incentives to invite more international students, new scholarship, especially for the English taught programs. And also one of the ways to go to Japanese universities, as Nora did, is exchange programs. When universities have exchange programs, usually receiving Japanese universities have Japanese language program, which could be quite rigorous. You can start from the scratch with some cases, together with some English taught programs for exchange students. So there are different ways to support or finance yourself while you're in Japan. Okay?
With like exchange programs and undergraduate courses, I'm a bit torn of like applying to a course in England with an exchange program for the second or third year, or trying to apply to an English like taught undergraduate course in Japan. And I don't know which is going to be easier to get into or which is going to be beneficial. Because the main thing I want to do is sort of like Japanese history, history and culture. So there's not that many courses for it here.
I mean, have
Could you
you...
repeat it again, please?
Again, the young lady was just asking whether or not she's interested in studying Japanese history, whether she should study history at a British institution which will enable her to go to Japan for a year, or whether she should just go straight to Japan and do her undergraduate degree there. Have you been to Japan before? I mean, it's obviously a big step to commit to a whole degree. I think it's, from my point of view, I think it's a big step. You need to be quite independent and quite strong as a person, because obviously you're going to be away from your family. And it depends on the institution. I mean, some institutions, if you're going to study, let's say, in somewhere like Hokkaido, it might be a bit more of a small town atmosphere, might be what you want. If you, I mean, there's so many variables. If you go to Tokyo, it's going to be very different to going to Hokkaido. I think that's a personal choice, but if it was me, and if I was, your age now, I would probably go there. I would, because
If the subject's Japanese history and culture, if it's
Yeah.
related to Japan, it would seem to make more sense to be in the country that you're studying about.
I'm in the third/4th year of college.
Okay.
Just polishing up on some subjects, and they keep saying, "Oh no, just do an exchange program." They don't seem to have any like input on it at all.
Yeah. I think in terms of the resources and the literature you'd have available to you, it would make sense to go to Japan to study that area.
Okay, yeah, next.
Hi. For some kind of personal reason, my A-levels didn't actually go so well. So the idea of Cambridge or Seoul is for me kind of miles away. But I know there's an institution here in the UK that does Japanese with a year abroad. I'm also interested in actually doing a full degree over there. I was just wondering what sort of grade requirements would be.
I don't know that. KO, obviously, universities in Japan would publish English prospectuses now, I presume, those that are offering undergraduate courses. I don't know how the grade equivalents would work, though.
The evaluation at Japanese universities vary depending upon the institutions. And when there are exchange arrangement between British university and Japanese university, there's a prior discussions between the universities how you can transfer or not. And I think depending on the university, sometimes you don't do the credit system in UK system, whereas Japan, for each subject, you get credits. So you really have to consult with your British side university administrator or supervisor whether your study abroad experience in Japan will count against your study here. And from my experiences, in most cases, the students who can bring the experience to the part of your UK study is the one that you actually specialize in Japanese studies in UK. So you really have to consult with your supervisor in UK.
What about if you haven't entered a British university yet, so you're still at college or high school, and you want to go and take your undergraduate degree in Japan? What kind of results do you need from, in England, we take A-levels?
Okay. There aren't so many English taught Japanese university undergraduate programs, but there are certain established universities who have been receiving international students for many years. Most of them are from United States, so they know all the grading system, like A-levels, or in case of United States, SAT. And those admissions officers knows how to count or how to evaluate admissions. So I think you really better go around and see what kind of undergraduate programs are being offered by individual universities here. And there might be the ones you might be interested, and you can ask what kind of prior qualification they are looking for. I think they will have the answers to your questions.
And just to, you mentioned SOAS and Cambridge perhaps having quite high requirements. There are quite a few other British universities offering Japanese studies.
Yeah,
so,
I'm applying for one.
Okay, yeah, so you're familiar with those. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, lady at the back.
My question is more on postgraduate studies. I know for places like America and some universities in Canada, you need to do the GRE exam. And I'm wondering for many Japanese universities for postgraduate, do you need to do extra exams or Japanese proficiency tests, or is it more based on undergraduate outcome?
Could you repeat the question?
She was asking about how she can get into postgraduate programs in Japan in general. Yeah, what kind of qualifications, or what kind of examinations, or what kind of like GRE in the United States case. In Japan, we have a very, this kind of university very keen to select students. So even for undergraduate studies, we have very close, each school give entrance examination for undergraduates for Japanese students. So that is how it works. And usually with international students, they have international student admissions, special arrangement. And for postgraduate studies, it really depends on the institutions. We don't have national examinations such as GRE for postgraduate studies. So you really have to look for the subject, or even better, specific professors you would like to be working with for your postgraduate studies. And then you ask for the applications from those schools, and then you will be asked to submit the qualification of university studies and marks and that kind of things, and you have to sometimes write essays, and then they will screen your application separately. So there's no standardized qualification that you require. So you really have to go go over, if you can, the booth there. I think many postgraduate programs, they publish prospectus in English. So even if you don't have time, you really go through the website and look for the academic supervisor that you would like to be advised, and then you really have to go from there. Any other questions? I think we are running out of time. I think this is rare opportunities that you can actually meet former students, current Japanese students. No questions? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Ask about socializing in a Japanese university and well, how easy is it to socialize with Japanese students?
Very easy. I would say very easy, because the experience in Japan is so much about socializing. So whether or not you're very social, you'll be kind of sucked into various circles and people will drag you out, and in a very good way. So I think Japanese students are also really keen to learn about you, and Japanese students, generally, especially most universities, I think, have to do some element of English. So they will be really keen to also just talk to you, and I think I found it really easy to make friends with Japanese people. And one thing I will say that I would advise, if you have a choice, I would say number 1, go for a homestay. Number 2, go for a mixed dorm, because a lot of students, myself included, I ended up in a foreign student dorm, which, it was fine, it was fantastic. But if I had the choice again, I would make sure that I was in a dormitory with Japanese students as well. But in any case, it's really easy to socialise, I would say. Tom?
Yeah. If all else fails, you can go down to the local Irish pub, which tends to be full of Japanese people looking to meet, international students or people who've come over from the UK or wherever. I met some of my best friends, my best Japanese friends, in the local Irish pub in Sapporo. So maybe that's another place to go.
Does Mary have any comment about socializing in Japan? Difficult or easy for international students?
Yeah, I think it's easy. Like, whenever you start new life, it's difficult. But once you join some society or circles, it's like quickly you know like hundreds of people there. So it's not a matter of your nationality. It's like just try it. I think that's it.
Okay. I think we are running out of the time, so we have to stop here. Once again, thank you all for coming here, and I hope this would have helped to learn about real Japanese study in Japan, scene in Japan, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the exhibition today. Thank you very much.